leg.
Welcome to Deep Dive Daily.
What up? Good morning, Andy. First a little golf clap for NBA Andy. 1-0 on your playing picks.
The game went under.
The game went under.
And my team
Orlando's
total over.
team total went over. Went over in style. Could have gone over by more.
Bit of an ass thrashing by the Magic. I mean, there were some spots where Atlanta looked like they were going to make a game of it, but
yeah,
woof.
Did you stay up for the nightcap?
I did.
The ref show.
Yeah, I know it was a little dicey there, but it was fun. Like those 2 threes that Curry hit.
Yeah, those were
like
good.
under the 2-minute mark there. Like it's like, all right, he's still got it. Like how do they lose this game now? They just can't at this point.
Shocking. So, Curry still got it. Yeah. No. I basically broke
like
even.
minus 250 favorites to be against Houston, or how big was that price? Minus 180, minus 200. Where are they at?
Minus 170. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I got overexcited.
Yeah, we'll talk. Let's hold some thoughts, and we'll talk more NBA tomorrow. I want to digest a little bit some of these series in more detail before going hard to the wall with some series plays. Yesterday's podcast, I was a little disappointed in the value I was able to bring to the table. So I want to do another NBA playoff get serious tomorrow.
And before we pivot off of the association, did anything change in your mind about tonight's games? I know that the total in Sacramento is 214 now.
That's insane to me. It's absolutely insane.
And the Miami-Chicago, the Miami-Chicago numbers are just kind of
holding.
The
214 is, I can't, somebody explain to me what's happening because I don't understand it.
Luka is not on that team anymore. On
Dallas? Yeah, but Dallas's perimeter defense is hot garbage. I don't know if anyone's been watching Dallas lately, but like they got all these bigs back. Great. So now they're not like layup line at the rim anymore, but they have nothing going on good around the perimeter. A lot of Spencer Dinwiddie on the floor for these guys. This is Sacramento's going to score. Dallas is going to score. Over in that game looks gold. Miami, Chicago, like the pace is just going to be so much faster than Miami is able to kind of slow things down. So I still think that possessions are going to be way above what market is pricing right now. Both of these games are priced like we're going to have 94, 95 pace of 94, 95, and I'm just not even fucking close. So good luck to the under players. There was
a funny those graphics they make when something happens, like
yes,
fired, traded,
like mononucleosis.
Yeah.
yes.
Somebody had a pretty legitimate
out indefinitely.
One. Yeah, out indefinitely. Somebody had a pretty legitimate looking one for Paige Buchers, and it was just Paige Buchers has been traded to the LA Sparks.
I like that.
I'm like, it took me a second. I'm like, because I don't follow the WNBA. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe they're just doing trades. And then I'm like, I get it. You're just being mean. You're just being mean, Dallas.
Another golf clap for Andy. I do really like the Deep Dive Daily thumbnails. They fucking rock. Yeah. Good job by you.
I love yesterday's. Yesterday's was nice. Today was a little bit of a thinker, guys.
Let's talk NFL draft. And we're starting to see some markets pop offshore, at least. As of this recording, I can get. Well, actually, they took half the markets down because they keep doing this. I don't know why, but there are at least over-unders. And if you wanted to bet on, say, Emeka Egbuka under 29.5, you can get two win 250 a click right now. So, yeah, if you wanted a decent sized position, that's only 20 to 40 clicks. That's a lot. So no real deep liquidity right now. This is like this is very much the kind of Rec Plus window to shine though, because if you want to get 500,000, then you're not going to move the number that big, that much at Bookmaker. So I would say go ahead and fire away.
I bet it still flashes for 250.
Of course. It'll still no. The auto mover is set to max power. Don't kid yourself. I was testing it around yesterday, and it's max power. The bigger kind of problem though is if you are a Rec Plus player, if you do have a good network of information, or if you really have been chewing hard on the intel, I kind of feel like this should be your opinion right now. Nobody knows fucking shit, and I know this happens every year around this time where we're just like, it's lion season. It's this is all misinformation, blah, blah, blah. Well, this year, like even like the tried and true, you can glean a couple of pieces of information if you really kind of read every word of the Dane Brugler mock. No, that was a waste of time. It's like you can really you'll get some nuggets if you listen to all hour and 45 minutes of McShay and DJ collaborating on the Ryan Russillo pod. No, that was a complete waste of time.
I'm glad we're on the same page, because everything I've listened to, and sometimes when I'm just working on something here, I'll turn on like a podcast on YouTube.
Sure.
I listen to Mina with McShay, and I've listened to a few other other luminaries in this, and it's like, these are just opinions. These are like your opinion. And it's so tough because there's these players that we feel like the teams feel like this about him. Well, we find out every year it just takes one team to like a guy high enough to take him. And, you can try to go back and evaluate how teams draft, but so many of these teams, they're looking at it. I mean, they're looking at it second level. They're looking at it from 10,000 feet. They say, here's all the things we need. And it's tough to tell whether it's like, I believe as a GM, I need to take an interior offensive lineman in the first round, or I'm just going to kind of wing it because I'm drafting in the middle of the round. I'm going to take the best available player if it's going to be a big reach for that, and then draft 3 of them later on. Like, you don't really have that insight on some of these teams in the middle part of the round. And the fact that we're so blurry on like 5 through 15 compared to some years. Yeah, I have very few bets. I have
why else 5
Hunter
through 15?
to go second, Genty to go 9th, and
you know why else 5 through 15 is so blurry, Andy? Because all of those teams have a second round pick, or most of them do. And the difference between who they're getting in the first round and who they're getting in the second round is not a huge delta, which means they are not inclined to really even go best player available, or like, well, shit, we got 2 real serious needs, offensive line, defensive line. We'll do defensive line now and offensive line later. Or, you know what I mean? Like there's really
who was it that went to the Chargers? Not Latham.
Joe Alt.
Yeah, it's same thing with like the tackle class. There's not like A+ tackle. There's not that guy. The wide receiver class, there's not that guy.
Of course.
Even the tight ends, the 2 tight ends are pretty close. There's some thought process. There's a 3rd tight end that goes in the first round. Obviously, the quarterback stuff is so weird because QB2 probably doesn't get drafted in a lot of first rounds, but there's a decent chance we get QB3 or 4 if some teams want to get wild with it. And normally I'd be like, oh my God, I'm just going to call it Pittsburgh because they're one of the teams that may. I'd be like, God, what are we doing? Taking, Milroe or Dart or any of these guys in the first round when it's clear they're not first round talent. But like we said, you have like 3 or 4 studs. You have maybe 5 other guys who are like, all right, you're starting. And then guys 11 through like 50, they're all kind of close. Where there's guys that are being mocked, and the people who do 2-round mocks. I saw the huge guy from PFF with the beard and the Italian name and the good long hair. Palazzano? I can't think of his name.
Oh, Steve, he's not PFF anymore. 33rd team.
Wherever. Yeah, it's they all just move
former
around. It's
ex PFF Steve.
Yeah, Steve. He did a 2nd-round mock, and it's like, man, a lot of these guys, if they went late first, fine. You have them 65th or whatever. It's like that. Yeah, this is a good one. James Cole
is right.
Players 10 through 50 are 1 tier.
Yeah,
and there's so few standouts.
I would even
positions.
It's more like player 4 through 50.
I mean, you can make cases that like Genty, Graham,
Positional value is nuking Genty being a standout, honestly.
We'll see. Some teams, got to see the Lions do whatever they want with that and make it to the NFC Championship game the other year. So I don't know.
I'm not
it
sold
feels
Genty's
like
high.
I don't want it. I think my mind says it's a bad idea, but the fact that teams have done it now, and the fact that we saw some running backs carry some good teams last year, and again, it only takes one team. 25 teams can be like, I'd never take Genty in the top 10, but it just takes somebody weird, to go 6, go 8, go 9.
Okay. Well, I think the top 3. Are you prepared to put top 3 and pen on your mock? Do you think that's just done? I think that's just done too. And I think the draft starts at 4. Everybody's writing in Will Campbell for 4 right now, but to me that feels speculative as opposed to information. I know that people are kind of claiming there's like fit with Vrabel and all that, but like I feel like Vrabel also took a swing on Peter Skoronski relatively recently, who's a lot of the same kind of problems, and that's not working out well. So I don't know that I feel that confident that Vrabel is really pounding the table to take Will Campbell 4th. I think they could go defense there. I think they could take a swing on a guy who's higher upside for sure. And
they could go offensive line.
Yeah, they could. Well, that's Campbell, isn't it? Yeah, Campbell is
excuse me. Yeah.
They could go a different direction in offensive line.
There's too many Wills and too many Campbells where I'm just, and I kind of space that. I know what you mean. What did I have them in last mock? I'm fine with them going, if, there was some thought that it was going to be some quarterbacks and then Abdul Carter, and maybe that you'd have a Travis Hunter there, and then it's a no-brainer because it's such a need. But
sure.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at with my betting right now. I have Travis Hunter like 4-1 to go 4th. Second, excuse me. Wasn't a big bet, but it was as much as they'd take.
Sure.
And I'm like, you know what I should do? Just stop betting the draft. Just make no more bets and have a positive year, because the last couple of years have been scuffling.
I think the next week though, there's going to be some gold that comes through. You just got to be ready to fire.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's going to be over-unders.
Having your powder dry at this point, I think is the good thing, Andy.
Really. So what I've been looking at, and I think there might be some value here, and this is my project for tomorrow / hopefully I can get a newsletter out with some ideas on this. Is the exact position taken by teams. Basically all the teams in the second half of the draft. You know what I mean? Like,
just play offensive line, defensive line for every single team.
There's so many teams where I get why you would make this the favorite, but here's like 5 other things that they can do. And it's going to be, I think a lot of it is going to be me setting percentages for all those teams. And then looking at the teams ahead of them, like, hey, I just set 70% for 3 teams in the last 5 to take offensive line.
Yeah.
This team can't be favored to take offensive line because they, at a certain point, like there's going to be too many of them gone, and they're not just going to take like the 7th best tackle at whatever it is.
Well, that's the problem is this year the top 8 offensive linemen, like 2 or 3 of them are interior.
Well, and there's some that's like, clearly this guy's a right tackle. Clearly this guy is too small to play tackle. Like that is the issue too. That's what I'm saying is like some of these teams are favored to take an offensive lineman, and I understand it, but that's just an example. They're favored to take a position, but there's 3 or 4 teams in the 6, 7 spots ahead of them that are, maybe that's first or second favorite as well. And I think there's just some long shots to be taken on some of those prices.
Okay, well, let's stick to the top 6 for just a second here. I'm not convinced Will Campbell to 4 is good, although our New England friends, as everybody that knows, is pointing in that direction. So I will change my opinion on a dime if we get rock solid intel that is just what they're going to do. But until it happens, I'll believe it when I see it. Mason Graham, we were kind of the Jaguars tipped their hand at some point to someone about what their big board looked like, and it was Hunter, Carter, Graham, which is why I've just kind of assumed Graham is the 5th pick for
And the fact that that's solidified so early in the process, I think, is forcing a lot of people to overthink it and try to find reasons that the Jaguars wouldn't do that. Well, what if they do something else? Like, there's a little bit of just like trying to churn to overthink that one. I think they ultimately just take Graham. If they don't take a defensive lineman, then I don't know what the fuck they're doing, because that defense is so terrible. The Raiders at 6. No fucking idea. I think all of the Genty certainty feels a little bit too cute. I also think there are people that are overthinking that, though, because they're saying like, well, this is a Brady pick, and Brady and Spytek have Michigan connections, and they need to address cornerback and blah blah blah. And it's like, okay, well, the Brady pick thing is wildly oversold. The Brady decision making for the front office is, I think, completely not correct. Like,
I don't think he's the biggest voice in the room.
No, in what? Because what's the big move that the Raiders made this offseason, Andy?
They got a quarterback.
Yeah, was Brady the architect of bringing Geno Smith to Las Vegas?
I kind of doubt it.
I doubt it. I certainly didn't hear or see any freaking connect the dots, Pepe Sylvia red string there. So I think that's just the Spytek Carroll thing, and they've entrusted these guys to make the decisions that they need to make to give the franchise a chance to compete. So
what would you do? What would you do if you were the Raiders? Let's just say it goes. Let's say offensive lineman. Maybe if it's
I'd probably take an offensive lineman.
So
if I'm the Raiders, I'm building offense with my first 2 picks. I'm taking an offensive lineman in round 1, and I'm taking the best running back available in round 2.
So that's kind of where I'm at too, where I would go trenches one way or the other, not because you have a huge need at edge or tackle, but you can probably get the best. You can get the best edge rusher.
Yeah, you can get
besides Abdul Carter at this point.
8-year starter.
Yeah, you can get there's 2 or 3 that kind of makes sense there, and at the same time, everybody kind of probably has this different ranking between Membu and Campbell, and maybe even Banks too. I guess there's some teams that have Banks right up there with them. So offensive line, this is what I'm saying. Offensive linemen's 9-1, defensive linemen 10-1. If you think they do something wild here, you can take some small swings at those, because running backs -145, corners +300, linebacker is $750. Like, I don't understand that price unless they're categorizing differently.
Yeah, right. So yeah, no, I'd say 6 is a wild card. Jets take a tackle. 8 is a wild card. 9 is a wild card. 10 is a wild card. 11 is a wild card. But I think generally everything after 3 right now, nobody fucking knows, and all of everybody that's putting out content is guessing and or trying to put team and fit together, and their own personal opinion of these players is shading the way they're slotting these, and I think it's all pretty noisy. So best bets haven't been made yet is kind of the key here. Here's some news that I'm not buying and I am buying, and you can kind of disagree, chime in as you like. There was buzz that everybody's now working out Shedeur Sanders. At least the Browns and the Giants are. Duh. Everybody knows he's not going in the first 30 picks. So if you're a team picking at the top of the second round, you should do your homework on him a little bit more sincerely, I think.
I don't know. The Giants one does feel like owner interference, where somebody came in over the top and said, why aren't we looking at getting a quarterback because of what they're starting the season with? I don't think anyone in that room thinks, hey, we're solved for the next couple of years. We're fine. We've signed some guys that are definitely going to, turn this franchise around. I really think it's in the mix, and that would. But no, I'm saying 3. Sanders 3.
I think that's.
I know. I think it's a horrible idea, but I think it's in the mix, and I don't think that there's probably 2 out of 3 people that aren't super excited about that idea, but if the right one is, it doesn't matter at that point. So I get what you're saying, but I think with the Giants, it's a little of both, where they might be considering, because there's other teams that are now feeling out quarterbacks in the late part of the first round. They might feel like if we don't take a quarterback, we're getting the 5th best quarterback at that point, or not at all. So I don't know. It does feel like they got a call from the corner office up there and said we're looking at a quarterback at 3 guys.
I disagree. I think it's natural progression through their process of figuring out that they need to give these guys a more sincere evaluation because they may be there at 33, 34.
I don't see Sanders there at 34. I don't think he should be picked in the first round anyway. Which, by the way, do you want to chime in on that? The numbers getting retired for Hunter and Sanders. It's feels like that bar is a little lower in Boulder than it is at some places.
Well, the bullshit is that there's no recognition of the national championship team in 1990, but we're going to retire these guys. All right, weird.
It's weird. Put Eric Bieniemy up there first.
I'm fine if you want to retire Hunter because he's a Heisman Trophy winner. How many other Heisman Trophy winners come out of Colorado? Not very many, if any. But ultimately, no, the Sanders sliding into the end of round 1, beginning of round 2 now feels very real to me. And I don't think that there is much demand for quarterbacks in the teams you're mentioning. I mean, people keep sending us, quarterback to the Steelers, but I haven't really gotten the sense that is as likely as everybody makes it out to be. Same with the Saints. Like Derek Carr's shoulder's broken, but the Saints were apparently caught by surprise, which means that they may have already kind of.
Did you see that
made some other
report from
plans.
Rossini saying that she kind of intimated that he might be overplaying that?
I'm sure he is.
He doesn't want to be a bridge quarterback.
He doesn't want. Well, not only does he not want to be a bridge quarterback, but but even if he doesn't play, then they like. Are you telling me that the second or third best quarterback in this draft is going to be any better than Spencer Rattler? Probably not. I doubt it, at least. So you might as well just keep the Rattler development train going, and if you suck, then you get first pick next year because you're pretty bad anyway. But who knows? Anyway, I'm not buying that the Sanders news means he's in any way, shape, or form more live to go top 10 than he was last week. I think he is still very, very much a late 20s, early 30s guy. And then I am buying.
I still just disagree with that. I think that's correct. That's the right opinion. But like, there's just so many teams that we would have never guessed how many teams would have taken quarterbacks in the first 12 last year. 12, 13, like.
I don't know.
We were way off. I feel like we've just been way off base. Malik Willis got drafted high. That's what I'm saying.
Malik Willis was expected to go he went like 40th.
I'm mixed up with Levis.
Oh yeah,
I can't keep.
Well, no, even Levis went round 2.
I don't know. It just feels like it's such a game-changing spot if you get it right. People are willing to risk it on a quarterback. It's the right move, honestly.
Malik Willis was pick 86.
Yeah, I know. I remember I had him like 33-1 to go to the Giants, and the Giants picked like 6 times in there. They kept trading up and getting spots. It felt like all right, the Giants, we're gonna make a bunch of money here, and it just never came through. I still just think teams are dumb about quarterback, and again, all it takes is one team who thinks I can fix her. And suddenly he's a top 10 pick. I don't think he should be.
Sure.
I don't really like some of these other guys that are getting pimped out right now with Dart and how do you say his name? Slow?
Sure.
Slow. I didn't watch enough college football.
I watched his clip that got circulated from the combine yesterday, which was hilarious. Yeah, we'll get to Champions League on the way out the door, Giorgio. So what I am buying is there's going to be a lot more offensive linemen in round 1 than people think. Very, very, very realistic, in my opinion, that Campbell goes 4, Membu goes 6, Banks goes 7. And at that point,
that was what I was going to ask that question when we talked about the Raiders.
At that point, like now everybody who needs an offensive lineman
seems a little wild to go 3 deep in the first 10. But that's my question is, where do the Jets go if they aren't high on Banks?
I've heard they like Banks anyway.
I know.
I think Banks might be their OT1.
I almost bet him 15-1 to go first, but there was so much.
I think he's going to go third, but he could go top 7.
So what do you do if you're the Jets if you don't take him though? Like, what's your move there? Because it's such a massive favorite. Like, second favorite on the board is tight end because they could go Warren, but after that, everything is like defensive line. It would be probably defensive line. If it went to offensive line, and then
I think they still go Banks. I think they I don't know that
Drew, this is hypothetical where they don't take him.
And hypothetical where they don't take him, who do they take?
Where they aren't that high in Banks. They 2 offensive linemen off the board.
They're taking the linebacker edge guy from Georgia, probably.
That's kind of where I'm at.
Walker. They could use that. They could use help there.
Plus 750 on defensive line.
Yeah, he's a linebacker though, so I think
I don't know how they categorize. Do they categorize him as linebacker?
He's a linebacker. Yeah. Maybe Mason Graham if he's still available, but I think Mason Graham's gone at 5 in this world too. Yeah. Anyway, I think offensive line. There's a chance that there's a more earlier than people realize, in which in this unit. And honestly, like a lot of people are mocking Banks, like 15, 20, 25, right? Guys, his bookmaker over under is 13.5, and the under is juiced minus 177. Like he's going in the top 12, almost 60% chance he's going to be gone by pick 14. So
it's only 2-1 for him to be a top 10 pick right now on Bovada.
Kelvin Banks, yeah, because I think there's a realistic chance he goes to the Jets at 7. There's a realistic chance, and similarly, like again, let me pull up the draft order and I'll tell you kind of what my gut is here. But I think the first round and really picks 4 through 32, I think you're going to see a really, really, really healthy premium on trenches. O-line, D-line are going to be all over the fucking place. The guys that are shooting up, who the buzz I'm buying are guys like Mikael Williams on the defensive side, right? The Oregon kid, the defensive tackle, right? Like these are the 2 interior offensive linemen, Booker and your guy from North Dakota State. Was it Gray Zabel? Zabel Gray, whatever his name is.
No, it is Gray Zabel. I always mixed up which one's his first name.
Yeah, like my general read is there's going to be a lot of trenches addressed between pick 4 and 32, and runs affect things, right? Like a guy like Josh Simmons might not be expected to go in round 1, except for the fact that all the tackles could be gone by the time you get to say pick 25 and the Texans just desperately need a tackle, right? Similarly, that's the only kind of what I'm seeing, hearing, and generally agree with so far. Banks goes sooner than you think. Mikael Williams goes sooner than you think. Gray Zabel goes top 20. That pushes guys like Barton, Booker, Hampton, and maybe even Simmons up the boards for a lot of teams. Derek Harmon up the boards.
Donovan Jackson.
I meant Harmon. Derek Harmon, the D lineman, pushed him up the boards. And I think that a lot of the focus and attention, which is on wide receivers and running backs, is probably there's a cluster of those guys picked at the beginning of round 2, I think, as opposed to those guys getting into round 1. I could see a world where Ted McMillan slides out around 1. I could see a world where Golden slides out around 1. Yeah. Emeka Egbuka, I made some bets on him at under 29.5, but don't feel super confident in that. Yeah. Any other general news that you are buying, guys coming up down that you think is worth either identifying price, locking in price now, or taking a shot on?
Not really. It's going to be a lot of this taking some shots on some of these teams to take, underdog positions. Looking same thing like with Kansas City, and you can say a run affects it. Like, oh, there's going to be a bunch of guys taken, but if there truly is, if your thesis holds water and there's a run, and Kansas City's sitting there at 31, offensive lineman is even. What if there's 9 off the board or something ridiculous, even 8 off the board, and the best tackle available is, at that point you're looking at like the Minnesota kid, or kid from Purdue. Like it seems like such a massive reach. So if your stuff holds, well, that's what I'm saying. If you have a thesis, you want to flesh it out. Anyone listening who maybe you disagree with Drew and you're heavy on running backs, look at how that fleshes out for some of those late teams and look at their prices. Because like if what happens, if what Drew happens, if what Drew says happens, the Kansas City Chiefs just saying, well, I guess we're going to take a guy we have, pegged as a 3rd rounder because we have to take an offensive tackle. And that's our biggest need at this point. It's even like there's a lot of different ways they could go as well, too, that are worth looking at. Honestly, running backs 15-1. If what you say happens, Hampton probably drops. And, the other guy, God, I can't think of the other 3rd running back's name right now.
Hendricks.
It's a team that's done it before. They did it with CEH.
Caleb Johnson.
If Starks is the only safety off the board, that's not the worst pick. Is getting the other safety, having somebody with some flexibility. Honestly, if Starks is still on the board, that's such a flexible guy to help your secondary. Like there's a bunch of weird ones you can take with like Kansas City. I think Philly for sure too. Somebody mentioned Philly going tight end, which is plus 750.
I gotta go.
All right, Drew,
let's wrap it up.
Drew has a meeting.
All right. Best of luck. We'll revisit this. Do you want to give any championship stuff on the way out the door?
Over 275. We got a DGen soccer. We did well yesterday.
What was your DGen soccer? I had music and automatically muted you.
Oh, the Arsenal over.
Arsenal over. Over 2.75 for Arsenal.
2.75.